Which RMD table do you use to calculate your required minimum distribution? There's three different tables. What if you inherit the IRA? What if you're the direct beneficiary or the spouse of the IRA? It all matters. And I'm going to break it down real quick, couple minutes. Let me share my screen. All right. For 2022, here we go for the three RMD tables. You got three options depending on how you receive the IRA or if you're still living and you're currently going to be taking required minimum distributions. Let's move on to the next slide here, if it'll go. There we go. What accounts require RMD? Sorry if you're getting require cut off. 401k plans, including Roth 401ks. Remember that. Roth 401ks, if your 401k is still within the plan and you haven't moved it into your own Roth IRA, you're going to have a required minimum distribution. 403bs, 457s, IRA, SEP simples, that does not include a Roth IRA. Remember that. How to calculate, just a refresher, it's the prior year balance on December 31st. So let's say you are in a situation where you have to take a required minimum distribution. It's going to be based off the prior year balance of the IRAs on December 31st. That number is divided by the proper divisor from the proper tables, which is what we're going to get into next. So you have three table options. You have the single life expectancy table, the joint and last survivor table, and the uniform lifetime table. Table 3 is the most common, and table 1 applies to inherited IRAs. So the original IRA owner has passed away. Let's talk about that one first. Table 1 is the single life expectancy table, so it's inherited IRAs. The situations are this. There's two times that this is going to apply. You are an individual and a designated beneficiary, but not the owner's surviving spouse and sole designated beneficiary. So mom or dad passed away, you're inheriting the IRA based on you being a beneficiary, transfers directly to you. Very simple. You open up an inherited IRA account, you receive the funds. You're going to need to potentially start taking required minimum distributions. Second option is, and this comes directly from the IRS website. It's a mouthful. Let me read through it. If you are the owner's surviving spouse and sole designated beneficiary, you will also use table 1 for your required minimum distributions directly from the IRS website, publication 590. However, if the owner hadn't reached age 72 when he or she died, 72 is the new required beginning date where you need to take required minimum distributions. If the owner hadn't reached age 72 when he or she died, and oops, excuse me, go back. Whoa, easy. Excuse me. And you don't elect to be treated as the owner of the IRA. So what that means is you can basically assume an IRA. If you're the spouse of an IRA, and basically they're going to create the beneficiary designation with whoever owns or is holding the IRA, the custodian, you can essentially assume that IRA and it basically becomes yours. So in this case, if you don't elect to be treated as the owner of the IRA, so you're not owning it, you do not have to take distributions until the year in which the owner reached age 72. So in theory, if that was to go into inherited IRA, just an example. So you don't elect to be treated as the owner. Husband passed away, wife passed away, you're the beneficiary. You can either assume that the IRA becomes yours, but you don't have to do that. The other options, you can put in inherited IRA. You do not have to take distributions to the year in which the owner would have reached age 72. Okay. Now, just a side note, the Secure Act implemented now the 10-year rule where the inherited IRA needs to be liquidated. There was already a 10-year rule in place, but do know now, moving forward, this, what I'm describing now, is pre-2020. If it's after 2020 and you're in this particular situation, one of these two, there's going to be a new 10-year rule. That's for a whole new video based on the Secure Act. So you might want to look that up. If you're using the tables, these are just screenshots taken from Appendix B, publication 590. It is a lot of ages, starting at age 0, the life expectancy, all the way to age 83, what the life expectancy would be. So these are the life expectancy numbers, the divisors that you would use Here are all the ages, life expectancies that you would use in our calculation to divide the year-end balance by. Cool? Cool. Table 1 examples. You're an eligible individual, or excuse me, you're an eligible designated beneficiary figuring your first required minimum distribution. So you're a designated beneficiary. Distributions must begin in 2021. You become age 57 in 2021. You'll use table 1 and those calculations I showed you before. Example 2, you're the owner's surviving spouse and the sole designated beneficiary. The owner would have turned age 72 in 2021. Distributions begin in 2021 because that was the year that they were going to turn 72. You become 69 years old in 2021. So you're a couple of years younger. You use table 1. Your distribution period for 2021 is 17.8. Let me see if I can get back without screwing this up. 69 right here. You can see in the table 69, 17.8. Awesome. All right, table 2, joint and last survivor expectancy. This is pretty simple. If you were the IRA owner, so you're living now, you have not deceased, you're still living, you're still kicking, playing golf, traveling, doing whatever you're doing. If you are the IRA owner, your spouse is both your sole beneficiary and more than 10 years younger than you. You got to use this table. That's table 2. That's pretty simple. You are required to take an RMD. Your spouse is the sole beneficiary and more than 10 years younger than you. You got to use this table. Okay. Couple tips for your first distribution by the required beginning date. Let me move this. Use your age and the age of your designated beneficiary as of your birthday in the year you become age 72. Your combined life expectancy is at the intersection of your ages. If you are figuring your required minimum distribution for 2021, use your ages as of your birthdays in 2021. For each subsequent year, use your and your spouse's ages as your birthday in the subsequent years. So let me go back right here. So you can see right here, I screenshot this example. When you go to Appendix B, you're going to see there's a bunch of these tables. There's a lot of them, so I couldn't screenshot them all. But let me give you an example. You find the intersection of, say, 23 and 69, which is unusual. That would be unlikely, but it's possible where you find these intersections here. You find the middle section of the chart. This is funny. Ages, say someone was 29 and you were 60, so you married someone 31 years younger, it would be 54.7. That's your required minimum distribution. Sound good on that? Pretty simple stuff. Table 3, the most popular table, might be one of the simplest tables. This is for all unmarried IRA owners calculating their RMD. So you got a required minimum distribution. You're hitting the required beginning date of age 72 or 70 and a half, but that's unusual and common now if you're just about to start. And you have your own IRA and you're unmarried, you're going to use this table. If you're a married owner whose spouses aren't more than 10 years younger, you're still married, but you got to take required minimum distributions, but your spouse is not over 10 years younger than you. You got to use this table. Married owners whose spouses aren't the sole beneficiaries. Married owners whose spouses aren't the sole beneficiaries. So if you have an IRA, excuse me, or 401k or whatever those accounts are that we described before, and say you chose kids as your sole beneficiaries, it's not your spouse, that's when you'll use this table as well. Table 2 tips. For your first distribution by your required beginning date, use your age as of your birthday in the year you become 72. If you're figuring your required minimum distribution for 2021, use your age as of your birthday in 2021 for each subsequent year. Use your age as your birthday in subsequent year. That's kind of a mouthful, but pretty simple just to see your birthday in the year that you become age 72. Thanks for watching. Always consult with a CPA, a tax advisor, or a financial advisor to help. A lot of times your custodian will try to calculate these, but remember, it's your responsibility to double check what your custodian says. It's always your responsibility. It's not your advisors. It's not your CPAs. They can double check for you and help you out, but it's always your responsibility to check and make sure you're taking the proper required minimum distribution. Because if you don't, you come up short, say you're $5,000 short because you used the wrong table, you're going to have a 50% penalty for not taking the full amount of your required minimum distribution. If you want to learn more, like and subscribe. I got more videos on this topic. And make sure to go to the comments below, sign up for the newsletter. There's always great information on there in your wealth journey. I appreciate you watching. Have a good rest of the week.